Welcome back to Toffee Booze, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing you an Everton news 24/7 for the 11th of December. So let's get straight into it. And today's headline news comes from Alan Myers, and it's an article from Alan Myers for Sky Sport News, and he's outlining that the FRIEDKIN group are closing in on their takeover of Everton. So yeah, that's obviously positive news. His biggest points really from the article, the biggest points to take from that were that he doesn't really expect an immediate change of manager, nor does he expect sort of a flamboyant, big, large flag waving entrance into Everton. He expects more of a calmer entrance with the majority of the work going on behind the scenes rather than, wholesale changes at the top. He'll be making more, behind the scenes and underground work in terms of changing rather than changing a lot. So I think that's all positive to hear. Obviously, everyone has their opinions about the manager at the moment. Everyone has their opinions about the hierarchy, and looking at the director of football, his contract is obviously up in the summer, so there's going to be a lot of changes around the squad. But I think us as Evertonians, we've had a lot of turbulence, haven't we, in recent years with the ownership. You look at Farhad Moshiri, he came in and made a lot of wholesale changes, a lot of marquee signings, which obviously didn't go to plan and left us in a lot of trouble with FFP. So I think a lot of Evertonians will hope for a calmer, more relaxed approach from an ownership rather than hands-on taking a lot of advice from agents, which he shouldn't be. So I think that's definitely positive to hear. But I think the main thing that Alan Myers has said, and the biggest thing to take from the article, is that it's close, and the FRIEDKIN group are closing in on it. But also, furthermore to that, according to Team Talk, and that's more on the FRIEDKIN group, they're expected to oversee an overhaul to the current Everton squad, whether that be in January or in the summer. Kevin Thelwell wants to sign an attacker, as reported by Team Talk, so I think that's going to be top of his list. Obviously, you look at Beto, you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Brozier is only on loan, and then Yusuf Chimiti's still young, plying his trade. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's out of contract, isn't he, in the summer? So, we're yet to get a resolution to that one. Beto, a lot of people have got their opinions about Beto, including Sean Dyche. People say that he's not up to the required standard. Whether I agree with that or not, I'm not so sure. But even if we did just have Beto at the top of the pitch, and then obviously Yusuf Chimiti, and we weren't to make Broja permanent, for example, it would leave us quite light. So I think it's no surprise that Kevin Thelwell is looking at attacker, and obviously, as reported by Team Talk, that's going to be top of the list. And with the FRIEDKIN group expecting to overhaul the squad either in the summer or in January, but that leads us on quite nicely to some incomings. And according to La Repubblica in Italy, they've reported that Roma midfielder Eduardo Bove could be offered to Everton. Now, obviously, a lot of people will recognise Eduardo Bove's name in recent weeks, even more so now than before the links in the summer, for example. He has been on loan this season at Fiorentina, so whether that deal will be done in January or in the summer, it remains to be seen. But he did recently collapse in a game against Inter Milan for Fiorentina while he was on loan, underwent surgery in the immediate aftermath of that game on the 1st of December, and he's had a removable heart starter fitted. Obviously, we saw that with Christian Eriksen. There's a few other players that do play with heart starting devices. I think Tom Lockyer as well at Luton is another player. So obviously that will cause concern for the Evertonians, but seen with Christian Eriksen, for example, that the protocols on play in Italy are a lot stricter than, for example, in England. So I think it's not something to massively be startled about. And obviously, he is a decent player so far this season. When he was on loan at Fiorentina, he made 12 appearances, scored one goal, and got two assists. So there's definitely a player in there. Whether he can come to Everton and get up to speed of the Premier League quickly, that's another thing. But it's definitely an interesting link, and a player that can definitely cause some waves for us. But yeah, obviously the story surrounding his collapse is obviously it was a horrible moment. I remember reading it at the time, and obviously it was a really horrible moment. But he's a player that's there's definitely a player in there, as we saw with Christian Eriksen. Players can bounce back from that, so it's one to definitely keep an eye on in January or in the summer. And then finally on incomings, according to Foot Mercato over in France, they've reported that Everton, Fulham, and Crystal Palace still hold an interest in Ernest Nuamah, the Ghanaian winger from Lyon. Obviously, people remember the deadline day saga surrounding Ernest Nuamah, and him having a battle between Everton and Fulham for his signature. He did decide to go for Fulham in the end, and midway through his medical, he went AWOL and started crying to his agent, saying that he'd feel like he'd been forced out of Lyon. So then, obviously, returned to Lyon, signing for neither Fulham or Everton. Obviously, this has changed quite dramatically in recent months with Lyon's financial predicament now. Obviously, it led to John Textor actually apologising to the Ghanaian winger for the treatment that he had and how he felt forced out. And obviously, we probably kind of know now why Nuamah was kind of forced out. It's due to the financial predicament that Lyon are in down there. Obviously, they've got provisional relegation looming over them. But That being said, Leon do value him at 25 million euros. There definitely is a player in there. He's a decent player, quick, direct in his running, and obviously could offer us a lot going forward. You look at the players that we've got currently. You look at Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison. They're not as direct or as pacey as Nuamah, so it's definitely one to keep an eye on. It's definitely an interesting link, and fingers crossed we can kind of pursue this one, and maybe get him a cheaper price of what we would have done in the summer, for example. But one definitely to keep an eye on in January, especially with everything that is going on with Leon's finances. But that is all for today's news. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about the potential incomings, and then obviously the things surrounding the Freaking group. Obviously, we're nearly there now, Blues. The light seems to be at the end of the tunnel, so surrounding this takeover, and fingers crossed we can just turn a new page for the club and look to kick on as a club and move up that league table. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.